Brian, we've had some big stars on this program.
Yep.
Big stars. I think this bloke is right up alongside them, if not beyond them. He's one of the greatest opening batsmen Australia has ever had, with over 5,000 runs scored across 67 test matches. And he was part of Channel 9's commentary team for 45 years. Not part of it, Brian. He was a massive part of it. I'm talking about the great man, Bill Lawry, who joins a run home with Joel and Fletch. G'day, Bill.
G'day, guys.
How's life? What's been happening, Bill?
What's been happening? Well, I'm managed to get to 87, so I just need 13 more years to get the Bradman's average, and I'll be okay.
Well, no, you only need 99. You only need 12 years.
Yeah, that's right.
You'll do that easy, Bill. You'll do that easy.
Okay, good. That's good encouragement. I need a bit of a lift.
You're still keeping a keen eye on the cricket, Bill? This young kid, Sam Constance, of course.
Well, no, to be quite honest, it's too confusing for me now. I watch Channel 9 News and I see the odd little bit here and there, but I think I've passed that. I think starting playing when I was 9 and now I'm 87, I think I've got to look at other things like looking after my wife and doing the shopping and cutting the grass and training the pigeons. I think I've got enough on my plate. But I think it's wonderful today that the cricketers are earning a good living and travelling the world, and we're seeing a lot of young talent come through. But I'm not. I don't lie awake at night now worrying about whether Australia wins or loses anymore.
Hey, Bill, just on the pigeons. We had a caller last week talking about pigeon racing. Can you just give us a little bit of an idea about the racing when you let them go? How far do they go? Like what happens? And is it 10 of them or 20 of them?
Oh dear, it's going to be hard. Well, races start. I'll do it quick as I can. They started at about 150 mile. They go through to 600 miles. So
wow.
Pigeons, the good pigeons can do that. Not all pigeons can, but we race weekly. We normally race 2 240s and 3 250s or something, and 300s, 400s, and then 500s, and eventually the 600 for some people. But look, it's a hobby that I've had all my life, and I've made a lot of friends in England and South Africa in particular who are top pigeon flyers. So it's been a joy to me to play Test cricket and have the Sunday off and go and visit a top pigeon flyer.
Hey, Bill, what's the Super Bowl or the Melbourne Cup or the World Cup of Pigeon Racing, and where is that typically held? When?
Well, I'll tell you about that in a moment. But for most of us, every week's the Melbourne Cup. If you win any race, you think it's a Melbourne Cup, to be quite honest.
Yes.
You know, not easy to win when you're flying against, say, 4,000 or 5,000 pigeons and you've got 10 in or 15 in.
Wow.
But no, I had a big win a fortnight ago and won the big race, the national race here in Melbourne, which was good. I've been second before, but I won it on last Saturday week. And that was a big thrill. So, you can keep trying. When you get to 87, you're not as good as when you were 25, but I'm still keen up at daylight, and if you've got good pigeons, eventually they'll come and win for you.
Bill, how did you get into pigeon racing? Was it as a kid?
I was born into pigeon racing. My father was, in his late 40s when I was born. He used to fly in the shorts in the 1930s, which is a long time ago, but my brother, who was 16 years older than me, was an ace pigeon flyer. And when he got married, I was 16 years of age, and he left behind 3 pairs of top pigeons, and I've been racing ever since.
Can I ask you this, Bill? Because I don't think most of our audience would know the answer to this, but, I mean, you said you're training pigeons. Like, I don't know how that happens. Like, how do you actually train a pigeon? So for me, if I was training a pigeon, I'd let the pigeon out, I'd never see it again. How do you train a pigeon?
It's a lot easier than training your wife, I tell you. First of all,
you can only get away with that, Bill.
Yeah.
You're the only one who can get away with that.
Well, only because it's going to Sydney, not Melbourne. No, look, you get, if you're lucky enough to get good pigeons, you breed them and you home them. The first thing, they're homing pigeons, and once they're 3 or 4 months old, you start training them and you race them. I get up. I've been getting up at daybreak ever since I was 16 to train them of a morning, and when I could come home from work of a night time, I'd train them again if it was daylight savings. And then we put them in a training unit. We take them 50 or 60 miles regularly before the first race, and then you sort them out. You can start with 150, and by the time you get to the end of the season, you've probably got 30 left, because it's one of those sports that you don't know they're any good until you race them. If you've got a racehorse, you can run him around the track and with the stopwatch and say, get rid of him. But it's not the case with pigeons. They pop up, and they are marvellous animals. They are very loyal. And, of course, what really gave me encouraged in England was when I was talking to Bill Hammond of Hammond and Whittaker, who was third in charge of the British Pigeon Corporation in World War II, and they had thousands of pigeons going all over the place. And at the end of the war, they gave 9 medals to animals for bravery, and one was a donkey, one was a dog, and the other 7 were pigeons. And they did such a great job in the war, which people don't understand. People say to me they're flying rats and they make a mess in the city, and they do, because they shouldn't be in the city. But really, over the years, they've done a great job. They've outlived its usefulness today when you can fire rockets without anywhere near the job. But no, look, it's been a wonderful lifelong sport to me. I've made heaps of friends. I'm not a cricket vegetable. I was probably not the most popular person because I was 11th or 6th pigeon for cricketer, and after 6 I was off.
Hey,
off home to the pigeons and get them in training. So that's what you do.
Now, I could talk all day, Bill, about pigeons, but I want to talk about your cricket career. So you averaged 47, but against England almost 49, but against the Windies almost 70, 69.7. What was it about the Windies that made you feel so comfortable?
Well, they had 2 of the fastest bowlers in the world that suited me, and they're the second, probably the best all-rounder in the world in sabres, so it was a good place to make some runs. No, the conditions you play on in the West Indies are much like Australia. The wickets are good, the outfields are fast, and if you're in form at the right time, we can make big scores against them.
Well, you're very humble. That's been very humble.
No, I'm talking the truth. You know, I don't make too many 200s against anybody else, but you know, and they're more generous too. Like if you're playing the Poms or South Africa and you get away, they shut you down a bit, but I don't think the West Indians know what shutting you down means. They just keep attacking all the time. And, you know, if you're in form, you're in form.
Bill, we've got a text here from the great Harold Harris. He wants to know, are your birds blue check or blue pied?
No, he's wrong. Well, I've got blue checkers, I've got blue bars, I've got grizzles, I've got reds, and I've got pies.
Okay, what's the gun? What's the winks or the black caviar or the far lap of the pigeon world?
Well, pigeon racing is a little bit unlike any other hobby. If you've got a greyhound or a horse or a trotter, you can watch them run. You know you've got a good horse, but with pigeon racing, you pop them in. They don't do much good at 200 mile or 400 mile. You send them to 500 mile, and they pop up and win.
Right.
You can't pick them. But the good ones come from good breeding. Basically, you've got to have good breeding at the start. If you got that, you got a fair chance. But you won't win out of turn. You don't win too often at the big races in any country. You just got to have that little bit of luck on the right day.
Hey, Bill, we were talking to the Kiwis earlier, and they've had a stunning 24 hours, the netball, the cricket, they've won everything. But I tell you what, you have had a stunning couple of weeks, because it's my understanding that you just told us about the big victory you had in the pigeon racing, but is it true you're also a Brisbane Lions fan?
Oh, I'm a fanatical, well, that's not right. I'm a fanatical Fitzroy supporter.
Yep.
And I barracked for the Lions, and when I was 7, which was in 1944, my father was a fanatical Fitzroy supporter, and he used to take me down to the Fitzroy Oval every home Saturday. And when they got into the finals, he said, "Son, you're too small to go to a grand final. We'll stay at home and listen on the radio." Fitzroy won that grand final in 1944, and they never won again, so they went to Brisbane.
Wow!
So I have never been to a Melbourne grand final.
Oh wow!
That's it.
Never been.
That's interesting. Right? How was it, Bill? Because we're up in Sydney, so there's rugby league. Obviously, we're a rugby league town, and there's chat about teams relocating. When they went to Brisbane, what were the fans thinking like? Were they happy with it moving to Brisbane, or a lot of fans saying, "No, we don't want to support them anymore"?
Well, the Royal supporters down as strong as ever. You know, Fitzroy wasn't a top winning side. Obviously, when last time you won was 1944, but they were genuine working class people, and they were loyal to the Fitzroy club. And Fitzroy gave you good value for money, but they just couldn't quite get there and win a final. But under Lee Matthews, he turned that all around, and Brisbane. I think Brisbane have been disappointing. Should have won more. I think they got the best group of players in the league by a fair margin at the moment.
Chatting with a legendary commentator and cricketer, Australian Hall of Famer, Billy Lawry. And Bill, can I ask you this, just back to your commentary days. Tell us about life on the road as a commentator. What are your most vivid memories of that?
Well, putting up with Greggy was a nightmare.
So was that? Can I ask you that, Bill? Was it?
But no, let's get it right. I sat on his lap for the 40-odd years because he was in the big man's pocket, so I was sticking with Greggy. Don't worry about that.
So
and he was a tremendous. He could find any hotel, any ground in the world without even looking at a map. He was fantastic in a car. Superb.
So when you two went at it, was it just all in jest, or was there some seriousness sometimes?
Oh, I think we were competitive. He was very competitive because he had me covered a bit. He was sitting in Kerry Packer's pocket for start because Greggy, he organised all the overseas players for World Series cricket, and there wasn't one rumour about it till it actually hit the surface. So he did a great job for me. He gave up the captaincy of England to do it, fair margin. And it was a wonderful 45 years for me because I just loved watching the game. And I sat there for 45 years watching the best players, the Chappell era, Greg and Ian, and along come Louis and Thompson and Maxie Walker, and it was just wonderful.
What about that man you mentioned, Kerry Packer? Any vivid memories of KP?
I dodged him as much as I could. No. Look, he was tremendous. He never interfered with us at all. He gave the producer one or two, I think, on one or two occasions because he had a phone in the back of the commentary box. He used to go off like a fire alarm and the lights used to spin and all the commentator team would look at each other and then David Hill would pick up the phone and just say, yes, Kerry. And he hung up the phone 2 minutes later and everything was sweet again. David Hill was a genius. The producer did a fantastic job.
And did David Hill put you all together? Because it just worked. And we've never seen a commentary team in any other sport work as well as you guys in Channel 9. Was it just coincidence?
No, I don't think. Good thing about David Hill was I don't think he knew anything about cricket. That helps. And he left the cricket to the commentators. I think that's where he was very smart. But he did pair us off because Tony Gregg and Ian Chappell weren't all that buddy at the time. So he stuck me with Greggy because nobody else wanted to go with him. And it sorts it all out. Because they were frightened he was going to report back to Kerry, I guess. But no, look, it was the whole team were fantastic. Ian Chappell and Maxie Walker and Keith Stackpole and Freddie Truman come in for a while and Ian Botham come in. That was interesting because he and Ian Chappell were commentating, looking in different directions. It was a wonderful way they could call not looking at the cricket. But, some wonderful experiences in that commentary box. It was just a wonderful place to be.
Oh, the people. Richie, Benaud, of course, the list goes on. We have
to ask you... I haven't mentioned Richie.
No.
I haven't mentioned Richie, Captain Richie. Oh, he was my favourite. He used to invite Stackney and I over to his place for dinner one night. Saved us a meal allowance. It was fantastic.
But Bill, with your
without Richie, it wouldn't have got off the ground. When we first started off, Bobby Simpson went back to captaining Australia, come out of retirement. We had the traditionals, and we were playing. When I say we, the Australian Packer side were playing at the showgrounds, and I think the only major ground they got was Sydney, if my mind's correct. And we were playing at all these little places, but the people just loved it. They loved the coloured clothing. It was a new era. Now, what we see today, like you can have 3 kids now and take them to the Friday night Big Bash or something and have the weekend free. It's all changed. Yeah. It's wonderful for parents.
What about my recollection, and I could have this completely wrong, Bill, but I just recall a tale where yourself and Richie, you didn't speak for something like 2 or 3 overs. Is that right? What happened there?
What happened was, I've told this story. This is true. This is absolutely true. It was the first morning of the Test match. I think Dennis Wilber was bowling. It was probably my first year out of playing. I think, I'm not sure. I wouldn't have persuaded that. Anyway, Willie runs in, bowls the first ball, and the batsman shoulders his arm, and it goes through to the keeper, Rodney Marsh, and Richie says nothing. And he goes back to his mark, he bowls the next one. It's a bouncer over the bloke said the keeper takes it. Was nothing. Just at that moment, Richie turned to the left and put up his binoculars and kept panning from left to right and panning from left to right. And then in come Roy again, and nothing happened, and the phone at the back of the commentary box rang. You can imagine who it was. And Hilly picked up the phone and he yelled out, one of you blokes speaks, so the next ball really ran in, and I grabbed the mic and said, "By gee, this has been a testing time for the batsmen. They're really bowling all these quick deliveries." And anyway, the over went past, and at the end of the over, Hilly said, What was wrong with you, Richard? What was going on? He said, Daphne's come with a picnic lunch. And my wife, Daphne, so I'm trying to find out whether she's got a good seat or not. And only Richie could get away with that because he gave up to do it with hitters as well. No, he was marvellous.
I know,
absolutely marvellous.
Bill, I know you got to go, but one quick question. I want to ask you about the 12th man. When he came out, Billy Birmingham, obviously.
Yeah.
How did the commentary team take that? Were you offended, or were you sort of, what do they say? Imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
Well, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. Any exposure you get, all the ockers loved it. Everywhere you go, somebody they'd start chatting behind your back. I think the only one that would be upset, but I won't tell you who it was. You should work that out for yourself. But
yeah.
No, anything that promotes the game of cricket back then was fantastic. I mean, today, with all this thing going on, the Friday nights and the thing in India and all that sort of stuff, cricket's played all over the world. But I've been watching Shield matches on the news, and I get very not uptight but disappointed. I just saw a guy make a second 100, I think, so far this year. And I looked around the ground, there was no people.
Yeah, young Constus, back-to-back hundreds.
I thought, that you make 200s and there's not at least 15 or 20,000 or something applauding. When we played at the MCG, and so we Victoria, and Ian Macca was at his peak. Ian Macca was frightening when he was at his peak. He was quick. And Fridays, if we were bowling, the Wharfies had come. They swarmed to the southern stand. There'd be about 25,000 Wharfies to have a day off. And Ian Beckford walked back to his mark very slowly, and his left hand fast bowler, some people will remember, he holds up his hand and the ball to the crowd, and you really thought that the Wolfers were going to jump over the fence. The atmosphere was...
Wow.
I actually felt sorry for even Bobby Simpson when he was on strike, rather than hoping he'd knock him over. I thought, Jesus, you get ready to face something, the whole crowd's roaring, and the ball hasn't been bowled.
Wow.
It was a wonderful experience.
Bill, Lawry, this has been a wonderful experience, I must say, here. Having you live on the Run Home with Joel and Fletch, talking all things, including pigeons, including the commentary box, including the 12th man, your career as a player. We have been absolutely blessed to have you on, Mr. Bill Lawry. Thanks for joining the Run Home with Joel and Fletch.
Thank you very much. And I'd just like to say, all the pigeon fans out there, just remember you don't win out of turn.
No,
Thanks for having me.
Good on
Thanks,
you, Bill.
Bill.
There's Bill Lawry, folks. Gee whiz, what a great chat. What a great chat.